All right, we are live Saturday, April 1st, and we are talking edging a win today. Welcome back, friends of the channel. It is good to see everybody. Just want to make sure my audio is working. It sure is. Good morning, soccer and football fanatics alike. We're back here with our live betting show, and we are very excited to be with you here on this Saturday morning. Last week, it was our first ever losing week. We went 1-3 on our bets, but to be fair, there were some ridiculous games in the Euro 2024 qualifiers, including Scotland shocking Spain 2-0 at home. And we have 4 more bets for you this morning, but before we get into those best bets, I have to introduce the face of the program. Please welcome knower of everything soccer, world record holder in Domino's pizza eaten in the UK, and my friend from the high seas, Mr. Ian Allen from Ian OUFC here on YouTube. How goes it, Mr. Ian Allen?
Very good, Matt. Thank you very much for bringing up all my titles and awards. I think there's a little April Fool's joke in there somewhere. And yeah, you're right. Those the international break kind of did make a fool out of us last weekend. But we're back. We're back with domestic football. And I would say to all you millions of people watching out there, don't you be fools. Don't ignore our bets today, because we've got some great bets for you coming up. Going to edge out some wins for you this weekend. We're going to go back to what we do best, and that is looking at some domestic European football.
We do have a great show, and we are everybody's got to stick around to the end of the show, because we have kind of the same segment, new title, new kind of brand, where Ian's going to give away his £1 parlay, which this week I think is at plus 1,500 odds. Real quick before we get into our top 3 best bets, a little bit of housekeeping. Social media is on the screen. Please make sure you go over to Ian's page, subscribe to Ian OUFC, and make sure you smash that like button right now. Take 2 seconds, smash that like button for me, and follow all things soccer on our Twitter pages as well. That's on the screen, I believe, right below Ian there. Also, on the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the odds of the most prominent matches this weekend. If you see something that you want to talk about, please put a comment in, and I will answer anyone's questions. Maybe we'll give out some extra kind of leans if you have any games that you want to bet on today. But please chat with us there at the bottom, and we're going to answer anything that you might be wanting to talk about this weekend in the soccer world. But without further ado, we got to dive into our top 3 best bets. And after that international break, we are finally back with some Premier League. So, Ian, what do you got going on in the Premier League? I think it has something to do with maybe these guys right here.
It does have something to do with those guys right there. But I want a quick update on the big game happening in the Premier League, Matt. What is happening with that Liverpool-Man City game at the moment?
So it was a massive. This is a massive game in terms of maybe not standings, but within the country. Salah opened up things early, 17th minute. Liverpool scored to go up 1-0. Alvarez equalized in the 27th, and then there must have been a nice speech at halftime, because Man City came out and De Bruyne and Gundogan scored in the 2 times. They both scored, so it's 3-1, and that happened, I think, in the first 8 minutes of the second half. So
yeah, I think that's a Man City without Haaland, I believe, as well. So that's not good for Liverpool.
Yeah,
not good for Jurgen Klopp. But enough about those 2 hacks and has-beens. Let's go and talk about your beloved Blues, Matt. Because the first bet we are looking at today is that evening game in the Premier League, 5:30 p.m. my time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, Chelsea versus Aston Villa. We're going for over 2.5 goals on this one. Oh, yeah, we did a nice job with Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. We hit the over on that one when they played Everton. So we've gone back to them again, and we really saw the good and the bad of that Chelsea side in that 2-2 draw, which was 0-0 at halftime as well. So just don't be, little one in that one, don't be scared if this game does take a little bit of time to get going. I would say once there is the first goal, do expect that over 2 hit, even if it's not until the second half where the first one goes in. Look, it's still a bit of a struggle for Graham Potter, for this Chelsea side. It seems to be like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But he'll be boosted with the likes of Reece James coming back, Wesley Fofana, Raheem Sterling, and hopefully we might see a little more of Captain America himself, Christian Pulisic, as he returns from injury. But don't rule out Aston Villa. They're a far better side than this Everton side that came to the bridge a couple of weeks ago. Unai Emery's side, and no pushovers, won 3 of the last 4 games, and they have a nice balance play in this 4-2-3-1 system. They're going to be disappointed because Matty Cash, one of their main outlets on the wings, is out injured. But they still do have Ollie Watkins up front, who is in great form, and they'll be expecting to be able to go to Bridge and get something. They'll be hopeful they can get something from Stamford Bridge, but I do expect this one to be quite a high-scoring game.
Yeah, listen, I'm frustrated with Chelsea. I really don't even want to talk about them, but I do want to talk about Aston Villa's manager, Unai Emery. This guy, he was winning trophies with Villarreal. Why would he leave there to come to, honestly, Aston Villa fans are going to think I'm disrespecting them here, but this has always been really a mid-level Premier League side.
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. And really, despite the fact he's won so much, I would say really one of the most underrated managers in world football. I'm surprised Unai Emery hasn't been linked with more of the top jobs. I mean, as you said, he's won trophies at Sevilla, trophies with Villarreal, trophies when he was manager at PSG. The only real anomaly was that time when he replaced Arsene Wenger as the Arsenal manager a few years ago now. And I'm going to guess that's probably one of the big motivators for him, is that unfinished business in the Premier League of just thinking that he's done it in other countries. He just hasn't, it kind of didn't end very well. He had a decent first season at Arsenal, and it really ended badly. And people, you know, it was almost insulting the way he left. People kind of almost were mocking his accent and the way he spoke English. Really bad when you think about it. So definitely some unfinished business there. And look, I mean, Villarreal is such a small team in Spain. And for him to be winning trophies with that team, he's going to be like a hero for life. But really, how much further can he keep taking that side? How much can you keep punching above your weight? And so he would have been tempted by a different challenge in the Premier League. And the other one is, of course, money, 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 money. Money, money, money. That Premier League almighty dollar would have, of course, tempted him away. And Villa are a sleeping giant, if you like, of a club, but they're the most successful side in Birmingham, which is the second biggest city in the UK. So if they were someone that came in with a lot of money, there's no reason why Villa couldn't be challenging higher up the league.
Yeah, I actually love this bet here. Chelsea, Aston Villa over 2.5. I liked it so much. I was looking at it this morning. I actually put it on my weekend soccer card. So hopefully we can start off 12:30 p.m. Eastern with a win. Now, I know later in the day we have a good one in Serie A. This league I do enjoy betting until I don't, because sometimes I feel like you never know what's going to happen. But what do you picked out here tonight in the UK, this afternoon in the United States with a good one with Juventus?
Yeah, you just for all that, Serie A seems to be a game. We've done a lot of bets where we've done over 2.5 goals, and it seems to be like the goals don't seem to hit until the second half again. So you get a little bit nervous, but once the first one goes in, you do seem to get a little procession after that. But we are looking at Juventus versus Hellas Verona. That is an even game in Italy, 7:45 my time, 2:45 Eastern Standard Time. So you can get that win on that Chelsea game and then hopefully jump straight over onto this one. Look, Juve, if not the biggest, one of the biggest sides in Italy, if not in world football, but it's been a horrible season for them. And they're desperately trying to scramble to save their season to make like a late surge to get into the Champions League or at least have some European football. Now, they're still in the Europa League, so they could still win that, get back into the Champions League that way, but they'll want to try and do it through their league position. The old lady, as they're called, have been deducted 12 points for financial irregularities, and that has really screwed them up. It leaves them in 7th place in Serie A, but this is still a very strong side. And Max Allegri's side are in very good form. They've won 6 out of the last 7 games, including a fiery 1-0 win over Inter Milan. And I realise I haven't said the bet once again. I'm sorry. No. We are looking at Juventus over on the spread. They're +1.
I think they're -1, Ian.
You're right.
Yeah.
Ignore every time. Yeah, you're right, Matt. Sorry, yeah. Juventus are -1 on the spread, and that's the bet we're going for. And as I say, they are in good form. This Hellas Verona side are pretty lowly, and with Juventus have got like 15 goals in the last 7 games, only 5 conceded. Verona down the bottom in the relegation zone, probably going to be relegated back to Serie B. They've only won 1 in the last 7. They've only scored 5 in the last 9. I feel it's going to be a big win for Juventus, this one.
Yeah, Juventus always, top team or up there in Serie A. One question I have to ask. I think actually we talked a little bit about this during the World Cup, but for those of the viewers, all 2 of them watching, where's Paul Pogba been? Where I know he was injured during the World Cup. What has happened to this guy? It seems like he was in that top echelon of people we would talk about on a regular basis. He's just fallen off the map.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, going back to like conversations we had during the World Cup, you talked about the star power once you get past Messi and Ronaldo, and he is one of the stars of world football. He was instrumental in France's win in the 2018 World Cup, and it has been a bit of a shame that we haven't seen anything of him this season. He's been absolutely plagued by injury. He's had this knee injury that's ruled him out, pretty much knocked him out of the World Cup. He came back for a little bit, got injured again. His body just keeps breaking down. He just can't seem to get fit. The latest news was that Allegri said Allegri, the Juventus manager, said he's close, but they don't want to put a time schedule on it. So it's very unlikely we're going to see Paul Pogba for anything of this season. He is still contracted to Juventus for another 3 years, I believe, after this. And this was supposed to be like a big homecoming to where Paul Pogba had previously been great, which is really where he became this star, really, from playing for Juve. And then he went back to Man United, and Man U never really knew what to do with him. It was always kind of like, he's a great player, but we don't really like him. Is he great? Is he lazy? And it's just a shame that we haven't seen him in the Juve shirt again. Hopefully we will next season. Maybe if Juve need to off some money off the books, you might see Paris Saint-Germain come in with a little bid. But fingers crossed, we'll still see a good chunk of Paul Pogba. And if he stays fit, he might be one of the stars in that next World Cup.
Yeah, I hope he does. He's an exciting player to watch. That's our Serie A bet for today. That is, I believe, mid-afternoon in the United States, 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:45 p.m. out there in the UK. Now, with our third bet, I think we're looking tomorrow. Premier League continues, week match 29. What do you have for us tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time?
I'm going to say the bet. I'm going to remember it. Don't worry now. We are looking at the game. West Ham versus Southampton. You are right. It is tomorrow, 2 p.m. and 9 a.m. So I have to get up early in the States to get your bet on this one. We're going over 2.5 goals for the game of West Ham versus the Saints. Look, got two sides battling down the bottom, battling for survival. It's the old relegation 6-pointer, as we say over here. And this one really could go either way. West Ham, known as the Hammers, they've really, really underperformed this season. They shouldn't be anywhere near the position that they're in. But they do tend to be a better side at home at the London Stadium than they are away. But the biggest problem for them is just being able to convert goal-scoring chances. But now they've brought in Danny Ings, and he is like their main sort of focal point up front. Hopefully, you'll start to see them get some goals and return to where they should be, really, which is in a much higher position up the league. But don't rule out this Southampton side. We saw them come back from the dead when they played Spurs, 3-1 down, got 2 late goals to salvage a 3-3 draw. And Ruben Selles has kind of brought a lot of fighting spirit into this Southampton side, and they don't go away easily in games. And they're absolutely, even though they're bottom of the league, they still are quite close to pulling themselves out of this relegation zone as well. And they will fancy their chances of sitting in the game and hitting West Ham on the break. I do feel that both sides with not the best defences will concede goals in this one. So I feel both sides will score, and therefore I feel we're only just looking for one more goal, and we'll hit that over and get quite a nice value bet on that one.
Now, as much, Ian, as I complain sometimes is the top of the table not being as exciting in the Premier League with maybe the first place race. And Man City and Arsenal, they're going a little maybe head-to-head. As, by the way, just an update, it is 4-1 Man City. So they're in very easy control of that game over Liverpool. But what I actually am enjoying in the Premier League is the relegation fight. It's pretty exciting. Crystal Palace is in 12th place, but they're only 3 points clear of relegation. What do you think? What team do you think is going to go down this year?
Yeah, it's really crazy. Usually, as well, when we get to this stage, there's usually one really bad team that's cut adrift, and there just isn't this season. So everybody has got a really good chance of staying up. And Crystal Palace, even though in 12th place they panicked, they fired their manager Patrick Vieira. They seem to have awoken Roy Hodgson from his cryogenic sleep and brought him back, even though he's like 700 years old, to give it another go. And you've just got so many teams down there that you just every week it seems to like have a little twist and a little turn. If I had to pick sides now, I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton dragged themselves out of it. I think West Ham are too good to be down there. Everton, I think, will pull themselves clear with Sean Dyche, and I also think the same for Leeds, Wolves, and Palace. So I think it's going to be Bournemouth. I think it's going to be Nottingham Forest, and I think it's going to be Leicester.
Wow. Wow, Leicester, that's a bigger name, but let's remember they became a name because they were down there and all of a sudden won the Premier League. Those are our three bets, our best bets there for the weekend. Now, there are a ton of games in soccer, as we know, each and every weekend around the top leagues in the world. So, Ian, other than those three bets, what other games this weekend are you looking at? I know there's a pretty big one, if I'm not mistaken, in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Yeah, well, the Bundesliga, that is the biggest game of the weekend. You've got the top two going head to head. That game, we had El Clasico between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Well, this is Germany's version of it with Bayern Munich versus Dortmund. It's called the Klassiker. And it's Dortmund's big chance to kind of try and win the league for the first time in seemingly forever. They're top of the league at the moment. You've got a Bayern Munich side that I think lost last time they played. And Bayern Munich panicked as well, fired their manager really out of the blue, got rid of Julian Nagelsmann. They sensed that like things were slipping. They brought in Thomas Tuchel, the Chelsea manager, and they are hoping that he's going to be the guy to win them the league, win them the Champions League, and it's probably a good guy to bring in. He won stuff at Chelsea as soon as he came in there. He won stuff at PSG as well. And that's why we didn't bet on this game, really. You'd probably thinking that was a game where we would do a best bet on, but it was just so hard to pick who was going to win it, especially with Tuchel coming in as manager now. Dortmund have this tendency to fall flat on their face when they have a chance to win anything. So there's too many variables, so we just kind of thought it was best to just avoid it and just sit back and enjoy it with nothing at stake on the game. So enjoy that one today. This evening, actually, I think it's a 7:45 or my 2:45 in America. Arsenal versus Leeds in the Premier League. I mean, Man City are beating Liverpool, so Arsenal have to keep up pace to stay ahead of them. I would expect them to get a big win in that one. You would think this Leeds, although, you never know with Leeds, they are a side that are better often than their results show, as I say quite every week. And then looking at Monday, you've got Everton versus Tottenham. It's the first game for Tottenham since Antonio Conte had a meltdown and just buried this Tottenham club. Almost like, you couldn't. He could have walked in with a sandwich board and said, "Fire me," and that would have been more subtle than what he did. It was he absolutely. I don't know if you've seen it, but he destroyed the players. He destroyed the board, the chairman, the owners. And it's not surprising that he left. And so it'll be interesting. You don't know whether you're going to see a Tottenham side that are going to be very flat or whether they're going to be handbrake off and just take this Everton side apart. It will probably end 1-1. And also as well, we've got midweek Premier League. So you've literally got football every day. You haven't got that boring lull with the international break. You've got great football happening with the Premier League this week as well. You've got Chelsea versus Liverpool. That's another big game. Let's just look over in Spain, which a title race looks done and dusted. But you've still got Atletico Madrid and Real Betis, probably the pick of the weekend, third versus fifth. Both sides in good form. And for good measure, if you look in France, PSG, Lyon. Lyon not doing great, but a big game nonetheless.
Yeah, a lot of great games this weekend and midweek. I personally, as the jersey that I'm wearing would suggest, I'm looking forward to watching midweek match Chelsea-Liverpool. It's going to give me, quite honestly, a clear indication on what Chelsea's motivation is for the rest of the season. If somehow they were to win that game and the next three, it is possible they could grab 9 points and maybe, just maybe, I'm being optimistic here, be in the mix for the Europa League spot. But my fear is, quite honestly, Ian, that all motivation for Chelsea is ahead at that Champions League matchup with Real Madrid, which may end up being very disappointing for them in the end. Do you think there's any chance either they win against Real Madrid or they find themselves in at least the 6th spot in the Premier League?
I mean, I think that Chelsea will still feel that they can. I mean, how far are they behind 4th place at the moment?
I think I think they're about 11, 9, something like that.
It's going to be a bit of a struggle for them. Yeah. I mean, all the eggs are in the Champions League basket. That doesn't mean that they're going to win that tournament. I mean, Chelsea have done that in the past where they finished low in the league and ended up winning the Champions League way back when they first won it with Roberto Di Matteo in charge. So it's difficult to predict it, isn't it? Because they haven't been great and they're playing Real Madrid. And, Real Madrid are one of the best, have been amazing over the past year. So I can't give you what you want, Matt. What do you want from me?
I want you to tell me that Chelsea's going to either be the Champions League winner.
Miracle.
I know.
Look who I support.
All right, I'm done. I'm done with you and talking about world soccer because I live in America, and it is time to talk about the MLS. Match week 5, quite honestly, was phenomenal, especially with our team, St. Louis SC, extending history in the making. They've now won their first 5 games of the season, beating Real Salt Lake 4-0 with all the goals coming in the second half. And Klaus added 2 more goals in his total, now 5 on the season. That's second best in Major League Soccer. Quite frankly, this guy should be leading the league with those 5 goals. But Jordan Morris scored 4 goals against Sporting KC last week. Yes, 4 goals, and now has 7 on the season. And Ian, I kind of find that a little interesting, as those that were with us during the World Cup live streams probably have great recollection of telling me to you that the U.S. team needed to sub that guy in.
Oh, if you can do it against Sporting Kansas, that means you must have been a World Cup. Why didn't America should have won the World Cup?
100%. Sporting KC is the equivalent to what I would call Oxford United. Now, what I'm hearing is I should probably be the next USA coach. But honestly, the biggest takeaway from this past match week in the MLS this was the international break, really. We discussed last week why the MLS was playing when there was an international break, and it affected some teams. About 50 players were missing, and Atlanta United missed 7 of their 11 starters, which is probably why they lost 6-1 to Columbus. Now, the only other thing I want to add on match week 5 is that the Philadelphia Union finally lost a home game. It was their first one since September 3rd, 2021. That is 25 straight games without a loss before Orlando took them down this past week. Now, looking at the matchups here for week 6 in the MLS, there's some intriguing ones. New England versus New York City FC should be a good game, with New England starting the year surprisingly well, going 4-1 and sitting atop the Eastern Conference at the moment. You have Orlando, Nashville. I'm intrigued by this one for the fact to see if Nashville's ever going to be able to score a goal. Out of the 5 games thus far, they have been shut out 3 times, and they now play an Orlando squad that has allowed less than 1 goal per game to its opponents. And then, of course, we have our team, St. Louis SC, facing off against Minnesota United at home. Should be a tough matchup, quite honestly, for St. Louis. They have not lost a match this season, but, of course, Minnesota's a tough squad, especially on the road. So we're going to see if our St. Louis team can go 6-0. But our MLS bet of the week, what everybody wants to know, is going to be Dallas, Portland, over 2.5 goals. This game's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, which I think is around, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning your time, 2, something like that. These teams have combined to go over 2.5 goals 60% of the season and 66% of the time with their home and away splits. Now, this stat means nothing, but it's cool in the history that these two teams have played matches against one another. Anytime the under hit, the next game, the over has won every single time since 2013. And guess what, Ian? Last time these two teams played, it went under the total. So yeah, you better believe we're taking Dallas-Portland over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, very early in the season in the MLS. But when you win 5 games in a row, like our boys have done, you really do start to think of like, oh, you go from very quickly from it's only the start to can we win it? Can we win it all? It's an amazing run, and it doesn't, regardless of the teams they've played, it's for a new side in the league to go 5 wins out of 5 is incredible, and hopefully they can continue that on this weekend.
Yeah, tough match this week, really tough next week against the Sounders. We'll talk more about that next Saturday. Before we sign off, though, Ian has cooked up what we're now calling the £1 parlay, which means these are very high odds that you can just throw $1 on or £1 on, depending where you live, and see. Well, we're going to see if we can hit one this year. We got, what, I want to say probably at least 40 weeks left in the year, something like that. Let's see if we can't hit one of these £1 parlays. Ian, what are you looking at this week?
I tell you what, I get absolutely screwed on this show. Why do I even bother coming on this show? I work hard to try and bring you some value. And so what's he do? He makes me add another side to make it even harder to hit these parlays. Okay. It's such a guarantee, this bet. Go and remortgage your house and put that on it here. Don't worry about the pounds. Put thousands of. No, I'm only joking. No, this is just for a bit of fun. At the end of it, if you say we play pizza money, beer money, whatever, for £1, $1 parlay. So I'm looking at a team from every league, every professional league in England. So one from the Premier League, one from the Championship, one from League One, one from League Two. So starting with the Premier League, and I'm going to whisper it quietly before Matt shouts at me, go for Crystal Palace.
They never win when you want them to win.
Come on, Roy Hodgson. Come on. Get that one. I just think with Roy Hodgson going back, he is the classic set them up for a 1-0 victory. And that is one that's going to add a nice bit of value to your bet. Bristol City versus Reading. Reading falling down the Championship. Bristol City kind of plodding in the mid-table. Also as well, remember, you probably might not know this, Reading might be on the verge of getting a points deduction, which plunges them even further down the league. And they're not in very good form either. So I reckon the Robins will get a win in that one. Into League One, my town of residence, Sheffield Wednesday at home to Lincoln City. They've not been great in the last few weeks, Sheffield Wednesday, and the pessimistic buggers I work with around here are having a meltdown. So they will be really hoping they can get back to winning ways with a win over Lincoln City. I don't think it's going to be a great game, but hopefully Wednesday can just eke that one out. And in League Two, we're going for Northampton versus Stevenage. It's a top of the table clash. Stevenage are doing well, but Northampton are flying. They are doing so well, and at home backing at Sixfield Stadium, I do back the Cobblers to get a win in that one. Do you like that nickname for Northampton, Matt? The Cobblers?
It's not as good as the Wycombe Wanderers, which is one of my 85 teams that I root for, but it's not bad.
What is Wycombe's nickname?
The Wanderers.
Chair Boys.
The Chair Boys. Get out of here.
It is. It is.
Never heard it. So what's the parlay come out to, Ian?
It comes out to it basically comes out to a point of give the bookies the money and they will laugh and run. No, it's about plus 1,500, 15 to 1, as we say over here.
15-1. Real quick, just go through the 4 teams again.
Sorry, yeah, I'm waffling a lot. So Crystal Palace, Bristol City, Sheffield Wednesday, and Northampton Town.
Fantastic. I will put my £1 on it and put it on my Twitter page after we get off air so everybody can see it. We're going to hit one. I mean, to be fair, in the first 4 weeks of doing this, our parlays, 2 of the weeks we missed, 3 of the weeks I think we just missed by 1. So, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Before we sign off, though, Ian, I guess I'm going to give you an opportunity here to update our viewership on what your Oxford Yellows are doing. I think I'm correct here. They have now tallied 11 winless weeks in a row. Who do they play today, and is there any chance that ends?
Very slim. Oxford United have a very difficult game today. Played Peterborough United away. Peterborough are one of the strongest sides in the league. They're in good form, and they score a lot of goals as well. So it's very worrying. It was nice last week having a week where I didn't have to stress and worry about it, but that stress and nerves has returned. And yeah, it is a worry. The thing we're hanging our hat on, the thing we're hopeful for is this new manager now has had 2 weeks to train with the players, and it'll be interesting, if nothing else, to see what lineup he brings out, what shape, what tactics Oxford have in the game, and whether there's been anything different. They didn't lose last time out, so there's small crumbs of comfort in that one, but it is still an extremely scary end to the season, and relegation is a real threat.
So one of my favorite parts about this show, and Ian and I have been friends for a long time now, but one of my favorite parts is, we have about once a week we call each other, we talk, we shoot the shit really. But we really don't collaborate too much on exactly what we're going to say on the air. Mostly me, probably, more than him. So I just want everybody to circle their calendars for April 25th. Because that is the day, ladies and gentlemen, that the Oxford United Football Club could essentially pass the Cleveland Browns for the longest amount of time in their history without actually winning a game.
Oh. You know what? I didn't know how bad it was until you brought the Cleveland Browns into it, and then I realized they must be terrible.
April 25th, if you cannot win a game by then, you will officially have not won a game in a longer span of time than the Cleveland Browns' longest time in the history of their football team. So...
Well, maybe we'll get a win today.
Maybe.
Please.
All right. Well, hey, it's been a great show. Thanks, everybody. I know it's been a small group. We're, getting this one off the ground. It's going to happen every Saturday throughout the year at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Edging your win for Ian, for myself, Matt, from Grandstand Bettors. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, go follow us on YouTube, and we'll see you next week with our 4 best bets. Have a good one, guys.